Hey, everybody. I want to welcome you to the first live stream that I am doing. Really excited to be here today. If you're watching here on YouTube, do me a favor and just put in the comments, just say, hey, I'm here and I'm watching. I would really appreciate that. So let me start off by introducing myself to you. My name is Mike Short, and I have, for the last 13 years, been helping people grow their business by coaching various groups of people. And those teams tend to be folks from different industries that we pull together, sometimes from different geographic markets that we pull together to share ideas, challenges, projects, to help folks build success together, which is actually the mission statement of what I do. My background includes I've worked in a variety of industries, everything from emergency medical services to distribution. I've worked in education, worked in the insurance business, been in the car business, have owned multiple businesses, everything from a disc jockey service to a yogurt franchise to a gift shop and delivery service. But 13 years ago, I decided that my passion was really helping other people accomplish the things in life that they want to accomplish. So what I did is I set out on this mission 13 years ago, really over 13 years ago, to help people do that. And I formed a company known as the Hey, Ryan, glad to have you. Glad you're here, buddy. The Pro Business Support Community. So a whole lot has happened to this country, to the world in the last couple of weeks. And I wanted to just put this together, some thoughts, some ideas that I could share. And listen, if you've got questions, ideas, comments, again, put them in the comments section so that I can answer them. Or if you have ideas of things you'd like me to talk about in the future, that would be great. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take that expertise and that work and that coaching that I've been able to do with people live for over a decade now and introduce it and bring it to a larger audience. So I want to provide some value and some ideas that can help you guys through this particularly tough time with the coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, happening. And so, I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I've been thinking about starting a podcast for a while, and that's still coming. But this whole coronavirus situation has really put it on the front burner. And I thought, you know what, I can't wait any longer. I've got to start producing content. I've got to start getting it out for people to help them through this crazy situation. There's three folks in particular, really four folks that I want to give a shout out to that have been really instrumental in terms of helping me through this process. The first one is a couple that run an organization called Live Streaming Pros. Their business partners, David Foster and Luria Petrucci, fantastic folks to really that have taught me the basics of what I need to do, and then they're teaching me the advanced things as well. I think you ought to check out their channel. They're fantastic. Livestreamingpros.com, or you can find them on YouTube. Just search for Live Streaming Pros. The second one is a guy by the name of Pat Flynn, and Pat is kind of the guy who started me on this journey of exploring alternative media. Pat has an organization, a company called Smart Passive Income. Again, he's got a YouTube channel, and he's got my stream is cutting in and out. Okay. Shoot, Ryan, I'm not sure exactly what I can do to fix that, other than I could plug up wired, but I don't have the necessary wiring. I'm actually in a friend's house right now, helping her out during the coronavirus situation. So thanks for letting me know, though. Pat Flynn, though, with Smart Passive Income, I found him originally. I was putting together some executive mastermind groups and found his video. And he's a guy you really ought to check out for some new ideas in this crazy time frame. Ryan, let me know if the stream gets any better. I'm hoping that on YouTube, fingers crossed, that it will be better by the time it gets there. Actually, one of the things I can probably do that would help that is I've got way too many windows open. Let me close a bunch of tabs and programs and that type of thing. I think I knew there was something I meant to do before I got started in all this. So we're going to give me just a second while I do this. Again, guys, my first live stream. I'm excited about this. And hopefully, again, you guys will find value in this too. So closing a few windows here, a few tabs, and we'll see what happens from here. All right. Hopefully this is going to make it run a little more smoothly than what it has been running. All right. So back to the folks that have really gotten me on this journey. Pat Flynn with Smart Passive Income got me really thinking outside the box about how I could take my business and how I could transform it and grow it. The third guy that's been a real big influence on this process is Sean Cannell with Think Media, fantastic guy. You can find him at Think Media. Pat Flynn, you can find at Smart Passive Income. And David and Luria, you can find at Live Streaming Pros. So like I said, the world has changed. There's been particularly some industries that have been hit super heavy as a result of that, including hey, Cindy, how are you? Great to see you. Thanks so much for watching. And I've closed a bunch of programs, so hopefully it's going to fix there. Folks in the restaurant industry obviously have been hit particularly hard. People that are in the travel, the cruise, the hospitality industry, airlines, gyms and spas, those types of things. And so if you're in one of those industries, one of the things that you need to do during this time frame is not just rely on support that you're going to get from the government necessarily, particularly if you're in danger of being laid off or something like that. It's time for you to think about what can you do differently than what other people are doing, either within your company to position yourself uniquely, come up with some unique ideas. I'm going to share with you a few that my clients have shared with me, that the members of my organization have shared with me over the last week or two, just to get you thinking, get your juices flowing a little bit. But you got to think outside the box. You either need to start a side hustle or you got to do things differently. So we're going to talk about that. One of the things to do to get started, you need to research, find out what other people are doing, and don't just look in your own neighborhood. Look globally. I'm going to share with you guys some ideas that both come from here in Virginia. By the way, I'm based in Richmond, Virginia, but also from across the state, some folks in the Shenandoah Valley and across the country. One of the ideas came from a news report I saw from Seattle. So I'm pretty excited about that. And this is the time, guys. This is the time for you to reach out, to build relationships with and support other local businesses and let them know that you're supporting them, the local restaurants and the gyms, the spas, some of whom hopefully have gotten an idea to transition as much of their business as they can from the offline space, the real world space, into the online space, to continue to provide value to their clients and customers and that type of thing. So here's some examples of some of the unique things that I've heard about. The first story that I heard about came out of Seattle. I believe it was Seattle. And it was a very high-end restaurant. This was a restaurant that typically sells, the $100 a plate steak dinners, and they've got the grand piano with the live pianist there who's playing, bottle of wine with the meal, that type of thing. And obviously in Seattle, what happened is in many places, if not the entire country, you can't go sit down in a restaurant and eat anymore. So what this restaurant did is they did a pivot and they developed a menu that only had like 7 or 8 items on it. Very basic menu. Burgers, which I have to assume based on the normal cuisine that they have, that it was very good burgers. But they literally opened the business, so to speak, at 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, whatever time it was. People would drive up in their cars, they would place an order, and they had the meals prepared and ready for people to pick up in a box ready to go. Very different cuisine, but they wanted to continue to provide value to keep their employees gainfully employed, that type of thing. So what would happen is, and literally they would go on Facebook and say, hey, if you're not in line now, don't come down because we're going to be sold out. So it became a pretty popular program during this crisis. And you'd get home, you'd open your box, you'd have your meal, or you'd have a couple of boxes with a couple of meals. There's a bottle of wine that I think went with the dinner. And because you couldn't be sitting in their restaurant listening to the piano player, what they did is they live streamed, much like what I'm doing now, a pianist sitting at a grand piano playing the same music he would have had he been in the restaurant. So you could have put YouTube or whatever platform it was on your television or your computer and set it up near the dining room or wherever you're having your meal, and had your wine and your gourmet meal. And it just was a great experience. Second story of thinking outside the box I want to share with you is another restaurant. This one's in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. There's a barbecue place there that is known for not just the barbecue, but catering, and they cater a lot of times to some of the manufacturing plants and those types of things that are there. But what the owner there is doing is he's taking his supply of food is continuing to come in because he's trying to support his suppliers, and they're coming in every day, the trucks of food and that type of thing. And rather than using it to prepare meals that people would normally eat because of catering or come into the restaurant to eat, he's putting together boxes of fresh produce and fresh meat that he's selling, I think, for $40 or so. Hey, Philip Day, how you doing, buddy? Glad you could join us. He's putting together these boxes, and folks are calling ahead of time and placing an order because right now, at least in Virginia, you can't find ground beef. There's a lot of stuff you can't find in the grocery stores. And so this guy, in order to keep his employees gainfully employed, as well as serve customers and try to support the people who had been his vendors for years, did a pivot. And he said, okay, I'm going to do this, and people can call and come and pick up their products. Another idea that one of my members actually shared with me is she's a financial advisor. And so she's reaching out to her clients who are in the high risk category, particularly. Maybe they have a health challenge or they're a little bit older or what have you. And she's asking them what they need and telling them, stay home. I'll go out and get the stuff for you and bring it to your house, or I'll have somebody bring it to your house, leave it on your porch. And obviously they're paying for it ultimately, but she's got it arranged so that these folks don't have to risk their safety by going out and potentially venturing into an arena that has folks that have been exposed to the COVID-19 virus. We've also got a realtor actually there's 3 realtors that I talked with just in the last 7 days, all of whom told me really interesting things that they're doing to change what they're doing so that they can provide value during this crazy time to their folks. The first one, what she's doing is she is encouraging, she has a team of real estate agents. She's encouraging her buyers agents to do virtual showings of houses. So as you know, most folks these days will go online, they'll want to look at a house, they'll want to picture it, and they'll say, hey, I like how this looks, or how I don't like how that looks, and they'll pick their top 5 houses to actually go look at. What people don't realize is that a lot of times what you see online are images where the realtor and the photographer, or one or the other, have done what's called puffing, which means they've taken the best possible looking shots they could. And look, if I were listing my house, that's exactly what I'd be paying a photographer to do too. So what this agent and the folks on her team are doing is, rather than having their buyers come through houses right now, they're going through the house with their buyer engaged in some type of video, whether that is something like Zoom on their phone, or it might be the Apple's got their internal phone-to-phone calling thing. Suddenly I'm drawing a blank on that, but FaceTime. And that way they can not only show the house, but if there's something that just kind of looks a little bit off, they can really zoom in on that. They can really examine it virtually by having that realtor be there. So that's pretty cool. Second realtor, or another idea from a realtor, this may even have been the same person. Interestingly enough, a few months ago, she had bought a bunch of very small hand sanitizers with her logo on there. So what she found is that these small hand sanitizers fit very well in those lock boxes that realtors hang on the door with the key. So as you know, as you probably know anyway, when you list your house, when it's up for sale, typically there's a box that hangs on the doorknob or somewhere that realtors can open with their smartphone, or they can open with a combination that has a key to the house to get in. And so what she found out is, hey, I can put these small hand sanitizers that are logoed with my company stuff on there in there. And boy, that helps build goodwill with the person trying to sell their home, with the people that are buying their home, with the other real estate agents. I thought that was a unique idea. And then finally, another idea that somebody had was, that when they had an open house, because a lot of people in Virginia anyway, that what I'm hearing is there's some people that are waiting. They don't want to list their house. They don't want strange people coming through their house. They don't want to have an open house. And I think honestly, it's probably a great time to be in the real estate market, to be honest with you. But what they're doing is this particular realtor, when she has a seller who she does an open house for so that people can come in and see the house, immediately after that open house, she's paying for a professional cleaning company to come in and clean and disinfect that house. I thought that was a brilliant idea. So what can you do? What can you do to grow your business, to maintain, to survive, even to thrive during this COVID-19 outbreak? Well, first of all, I suggest you research, like I mentioned before. Just take 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. Look on the internet. Look for creative ideas that other businesses are employing because they're thinking outside the box. Secondly, I suggest you collaborate, right? Collaborate with people in other industries, collaborate with people in your own industries, but talk about and bounce ideas off of each other. Really, that's what my company, the Pro Business Support Community, is all about in the physical setting. And of course, during this crisis, we've moved a lot of our team meetings to the virtual, all of our team meetings actually, to the virtual setting. So we're doing that using Zoom, which a lot of people who had never heard of Zoom before 2 weeks ago are now active Zoom users. It's pretty crazy. But identify partnerships. Think outside the box. A great example is I was talking today to a guy that sells security systems, and he's like, I'm not sure how I'm going to continue to get leads during this coronavirus situation. So somebody suggested, somebody he was collaborating with that was part of this group suggested, have you thought about talking to gun shops? And he was like, I don't get it. Why am I talking to gun shops? They said, because, and this person said, just in the last 7 days, I've talked to 3 people who've gone out and purchased guns. Not advocating or telling you not to do that, just telling you how the conversation went. But the story was these 3 friends of this person, or these 3 people that they had talked to, had gone out to buy guns because of the concern that if things get much worse before they start getting better, that we could very easily have some civil disruption on our hands. And this person wanted to make sure that their family and their property and those types of things were protected. Well, gosh, who wants to buy a security system? Somebody that wants to protect their property and their home and their family. So that's an idea of collaboration. The second thing that you might do during this crazy time is you might try to figure out a strategy on how do I transition my business from offline to online. So it might be through classes, right? Gyms, yoga studios. One of my clients' wives is a CrossFit instructor, and they've moved their entire business to online, where they are teaching the members of that gym or that CrossFit gym or whatever it is virtually using some type of online streaming media, whether that's YouTube. I'm not sure. Of course, with YouTube, you can have unlisted and private channels that don't show up in people's searches. So it's a pretty powerful platform. There's some other platforms you can use as well. Obviously, folks that are used to working with, collaborating with teams and having meetings that are in person, you can now do that online, whether that's using Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts, or maybe just a one-on-one call using the FaceTime if you both have iPhones. But we've got to think differently, right? And I'll tell you, after being with some of my teams over the last week and a half that have met virtually, there's a huge difference when you put people together and you can see if you're meeting with 10 people. This morning we had a meeting with, I think, 13 people total that were at the meeting. And a couple of them left early, a couple came late, but we had a total of 13 people, and we used Zoom this morning to do that. And it's a completely different, at least for me, and I'm going to assume for you too, it's a completely different feeling when you can see people's faces, even if it's only in 2 dimensions, even if it looks like the Brady Bunch on your screen and everybody's looking around, right? It's different than trying to do it via conference call. And you know what? It wasn't that many years ago that conference calls would have been our only option. Another idea outside the box is think about during this time, especially if you're cooped up at home, what are you an expert in? What can you bring to people? Can you create online training? Can you create online documents or books or those types of things? Not necessarily to monetize, although you might want to do that at some point. And guys, if you're looking for ideas on how to do that, again, I would suggest you check out Pat Flynn. Sean Cannell is really more of a how do you get up and running in a video platform. Live streaming pros, David and Luria, are experts on doing this live as opposed to recording video and bringing it in later. So I really encourage you guys to think differently. And social media strategies right now are huge. You know, there's a lot of people who have shunned social media, or they've only been on one platform. They haven't used everything to its fullest extent. Guys, right now, social media is going to be the way that you can reach people that you don't already know. And no, I'm not talking about necessarily buying advertising on Facebook or Google, although you may want to do that. But what I'm talking about is developing specific strategies to help you engage with an audience. Now, one thing I've learned really from these three that I mentioned, Sean, Pat, David, and Luria, is don't go looking to make money. If you're doing it to make money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Okay, so all of these guys that I've mentioned, and even more, Roberto Blake, there's tons of people out there, provide a lot of high quality content through the internet, through video, through podcasting for free, right? Now, I think that's super important, because if the first thing you do is you try to sell on social media, like I see realtors all the time, and every time, and this has happened for years, and it drives me crazy, that they're posting on Facebook all the time their latest listing, right? And that's what you see. And honestly, I'm not in the market to buy a house, so I don't care about your listing. But if you provided me content, right? What are the top 3 things to get your house ready for the spring? Like, when, you know, here's when you should plant your grass and plant these things and prune your bushes. There's value in that, right? So think about content that's related around what you do that you can create and get out to people. I think video and audio is huge right now, especially during the coronavirus. And one of the reasons why I made the pivot from focusing on the podcast to moving to video and live streaming is because it's simply this: people are stuck in the house, right? And if they're stuck in the house, they're looking for something to do. And video is king there. Why was I thinking podcast first? Because I know how I consume content. And when I'm in the car, I always have a podcast playing now. And people, if you look at the numbers, people tend to listen to a podcast much longer than they watch a video, right? So this video is already gone 24 minutes, right? I'm going to try to keep it to 30 minutes or less. But here's the thing, guys. Most people will find this on YouTube after I'm done with the live stream. And if they stay on for more than the first 2 minutes, that's a win. But a podcast, people typically will listen to for 20, 30, 40 minutes because they're on the treadmill or they're in the car. They really don't have anything else to do. So, but remember, today, right now, with the COVID-19 situation, there's people stuck in their houses. They're looking to consume content. They're looking for things to entertain them and to help them grow. And so I want to be here to help people grow and get through this. Okay. Another idea that a lot of businesses, I think, can use is pre-sell stuff now. Have a post-coronavirus sale. Go ahead and you may want to discount it, or you may want to make some kind of exclusive event around it. But if I'm a restaurant, right? Hey, you can get $40 worth of gift cards for $25 for the next week. Well, that's a deal for a lot of people. And maybe what that will do is generate revenue for that restaurant that they aren't otherwise getting, to help them keep afloat, to help them not have to lay off the server, to help them keep the cooks working. I think that could be very, very big. Let's see. here's a couple of things just to kind of wrap up. I hope those made sense to you. If they did, great. If this provided some value for you, fantastic. Let me know. Do me a favor. And if you're not watching this, even if you are watching this live, I forgot because I'm doing this through a service which allows me to do a couple of things. But like my channel, click on notifications. That's going to help this get out to more people, help more people see this. I want you to know that first of all, I'm going to be live streaming every week from now going forward. I think that I'm going to try to do it on Tuesdays at this time, but I promise I'll let you know exactly when it's going to be. So make sure you like and hit notifications. That way you'll find out when the permanent live stream is going to be. Now, if you want to reach out to me, if you have any questions, if you have some ideas, some topics you'd like to see covered, anything like that, please send them to me, right? I want you guys to be a part of this community. This isn't just about me spouting off things I have knowledge of, but one thing I can tell you is everything I know I've learned from somebody else, and every one of you can teach me something too. So do me a favor and fire me off an email, Michael at The Pro Community, with questions, with ideas, with topics you'd like to see covered, that type of thing. And finally, the last thing is, and shoot me an email too if you're interested in absolutely for free coming and visiting one of our pro teams while we're meeting virtually. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. Although if you're across the world, you may have to get up in the middle of the night. But listen, I want to give you a personal invitation to visit one of our teams if you would like, just to plug in, to get ideas, to share ideas. That would be great. But send me an email. We want to make sure none of our teams get overloaded with too many people at once, but that would be fantastic. And then finally, I just want to let you guys know that, this has hit my business too. So I went ahead and set this up. I know this is the first stream. I feel extremely blessed because I had 3 people actually log on to my first live stream. I've got a lot of friends that live stream, and their first live stream, they have 0 people watch. So first of all, if you're watching this live, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this later on YouTube, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. If you'd like to see me create more content, if you'd like to support the channel and to help me grow and expand what I'm doing, I've set up a Patreon account. The information is right there. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it's kind of like supporting public broadcasting, right? You can support at different levels, and you get some perks for those things. I only want you to do that if you're finding value in this. But I did go ahead and set it up even before this first live stream, because I know going forward, doing this every week, this audience is going to grow, this community is going to grow, and we're going to build success together. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys very much. And if you have any questions, again, shoot them to me, Michael at theprocommunity.com. So here you go one more time, Michael at theprocommunity.com. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great week. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Practice social distancing. If you're feeling ill, make sure that you self-isolate. And I'm praying for everybody to stay safe and healthy during this crisis that we're facing. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.